Hey there, and welcome to the FastRockett podcast. It's an informational, sometimes wacky navigation through this phenomenon known as intermittent fasting. Over the past 4 years, I've used it to reverse my type 2 diabetes, and I have lost 70 pounds in the process. Now, I am not a doctor, and I'm really happy about that because if I were, I wouldn't know anything about this. No, I love my doctors. They saved my life about 5 years ago. But really, the medical community does not quite embrace the idea of fasting yet. This week is the official launch of the FastRockett program. If you find any of the information on this channel helpful, useful, or otherwise entertaining, please consider subscribing. I'm feeling kind of like a used car salesman at the moment. My guests today, some old radio buds, the infectiously happy and pleasant JT, Jill Thomas. Welcome to it. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you. It's great to see you.
And speaking of infections, I'm delighted to hear that it cleared up.
I thought you were going to introduce Pat.
That's what I thought too.
The chronically follicle challenged Pat Safford from the Pat and JT podcast. patandjt.com, I understand it is. Thank you for being here. And we have a lovely addition. I hadn't counted on Sashakas, the Greek goddess of podcast production, I'm guessing.
It's true. It's true. It is true.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, my darling.
Thank you for having me.
And she's also a host of a podcast called Meathead Test Kitchen, where they talk a lot about things I don't understand that I need to learn about. Like, what are they called, Sasha?
Macros.
Yeah, that'd be your carbs and your proteins and your fats.
Yeah, so she knows a lot about this stuff we're going to talk about today.
Here are the basics for this. As I described yesterday on the podcast, food is converted to glucose once you eat it. Mostly that comes from carbohydrates, although protein, and Sasha will know this, although protein can be converted to glucose after it's used for repair. So carbohydrate, protein get converted to glucose. At that point, insulin, from the Greek god of Insulinicus, a lot of people didn't know that, the storer of fat. Insulin is dispensed into the system to store the excess glucose as fat to be used at a later date to be determined. Problem is the body can't access the stored fat while there's insulin in the body or while it's doing its job, because what it does, it's a growth hormone. Its job is to go in, collect all the glucose, sugar, and put it in a cell somewhere or a muscle somewhere or an organ or in the liver as glycogen. Okay. Tragically, the standard American diet is so bad and ripe with processed carbohydrates, it wreaks havoc on our blood sugar and insulin. And the body starts craving more and more glucose because it can't get to the stored fat because of the insulin. So every 2 or 3 hours, the blood sugar crashes, and the quickest fix is a bagel, a donut, or in my case, a Toblerone bar. Let's hear it for Toblerone bar.
Right.
I don't even know what that
or
is.
Sadly, for some people, it's grab a Snickers.
Whatever. Yeah.
Right? I've seen the commercials.
Yes,
you need a Snickers. You're so grumpy.
I love those commercials. Okay, let's go to the unofficial fact checker, Sashakas, who is going to determine
the surprised fact checker.
Yeah. So what I've offered here, do you see anything wrong with it so far?
No, I do not.
Thank you very much. Right.
It's kind of magical. I mean, when you think about it, it's all very magical, and it's sad that it's been interrupted.
That's exactly what happens. Thank you. It's a perfect transition into what I call the windows. There are 2 windows that are important: your feeding window and your fasting window, right? So unfortunately, the standard American diet is really bad because most of the time the feeding window is like this and the fasting window is like this, right? And it needs to be flipped. so that the feeding window is like this and the fasting window is like this. So I wanted to ask all of you, give me an idea of what your feeding and fasting windows are presently. How long do you eat?
Who do you want to go first?
Oh, just jump in. What is the time you put the first bite in your mouth in the morning or in the day?
5:45 a.m.
And what is that?
It's usually just a banana or like half a protein bar or something, just to get me for fuel to do my workout, because I work out at 6 a.m.
Gotcha. JT.
I actually have been doing fasting to a degree. I try to only eat one meal a day, and usually it's at 4. Today, though, I was hungry, and I also live by when I'm hungry, really hungry, I eat. It's like, and most days I can go till 4, but today I had a hamburger patty, and a ratio is the name of a yogurt. It's a keto yogurt. It has 2 carbs in
Right.
it. And it's very filling, real heavy filling. And so I had that and a hamburger patty at noon today. But typically I don't have something to eat until about 4 o'clock, until like 4 to 7, 4 to 8.
So you're on kind of a 24 ratio of your feeding window is 4 hours.
Yeah.
Today
Today not.
And your fasting window is 20. And
it's gotten easier as I've gone along too. I just want to say, because I just started doing it not that long ago, and I thought, how on earth? But then I realized it's really important what you eat during that feeding window, that you feel completely satisfied. That satiation, that's a word I'd never used before in my life, satiety, and understanding what that meant. And now that I understand it better, it's so much easier now. In the mornings, I don't get hungry. My stomach doesn't hurt. I don't get dizzy. I don't have pangs. And for a while there I did, because I was cutting out all the sugar.
Right. When people move to a fasting regimen or a fasting lifestyle, that's one of the things that it's often uncomfortable for the first few days, and maybe even for the first couple of weeks, because your body is making an adjustment to all the processed foods, all the carbohydrates that you have taken in, and it's trained to want that sugar, and it takes a minute to flip that switch and realize that the body can burn stored fat if it can just see it, and insulin prevents it from seeing it. And the way you manage the insulin is carbohydrate intake down, so this is not so much insulin in the bloodstream. Patrick, with the big head. What about you? What do you typically eat?
I'm not the best eater. I used to eat a little bit better when I would actively be working out, but I usually probably start eating around, I get up about 4. So I'll eat probably 4:30 or 5. Maybe it's an egg or a granola bar. And then my eat window then lasts till about 8 at that night. It's a it's a bay window. It's a big, large eating bay window. But I actually tried intermittent fasting, and I have to admit it was difficult at first, but after about 3 or 4 days, I really felt great. I got off track on it, but it was something that I never really experienced that before. Intermittent fasting at all. And I really felt really, really good. I think I did it for about a month. I felt great. So yeah, I mean, it's something that I definitely want to learn more about.
What happens is, and I didn't make this very clear, it was brought out to me yesterday or this morning about last night's show. What happens is you really have to define what closes a window and what opens a window. So and I want to make this point today, when you close your feeding window, that means there are no more calories taken in until that window opens again after the fast. And a lot of people think, or not a lot, some people think that if you're not sitting down for a meal, that you can have a snack later, because if you miss a meal, no, it's not missing a meal.
So eating at the sink doesn't count?
No.
Dang it.
That's adorable. No, it doesn't. So you have to be very clear about that and be honest with yourself about, boom, this is where the end of the window is for me tonight or today. And boom, the same thing with the ending of the fasting window in the morning. Now, when you have your coffee, coffee's only like 5 calories. So that small amount of calories is not going to break your fast in any way. You can have up to 50 calories, but don't do that. Take your coffee and just be happy with that. So, Sasha, what is your window like? You say you start 5:45 in the morning. How late does that go?
I go to bed pretty early. I'd say anywhere from, I don't know, 6:30 to probably 8. Depends.
Gotcha. So you would describe your fasting window from 6 in the morning to 6 at night, typically.
I eat until 6 or 30. Oh, yeah.
That's what I mean. That would be your feeding window.
Right.
So your fasting window would be, have some symmetry to it and be about the same, right? So that's good. The ball boy, I don't know. I mean, he seems like he's got a longer window.
Well, he did say that he can't, like, eating over the sink, like, that counts. So maybe
that does not count. Eating over the sink does not.
Then I'm golden.
That last little bite of Snickers from the Halloween bag on your way to bed
doesn't count.
That doesn't count either.
Good.
Can't do that. No, you can't do that.
Oh. Yeah.
But yeah, I found that when I started doing this, that was the interesting part, because I had gained weight this first half of the summer and first half of the year, actually, because I think I started this actually in August, and immediately I dropped 16 pounds. Boom. It was just like that. And I was like, whoa. And now I've plateaued. But as I've read up on it, because my diet is more, it's kind of keto, but I'm aiming for more carnivore, and there are other reasons why I did that. But anyway, it's worked really well for me. I find it really much easier, but now I find my body has changed, like my body composition.
Yes.
I can really tell the difference. I don't jump on the scale anymore, because that drives me crazy, but I can tell the difference in my clothes. I can tell, it's just like, that's okay. Something is changing, but I'm all about it. That's great. And when I do cheat, and it's not like I cheat, it's like I have a craving for something and I decide, you know what, I'm just going to have a bite, because I'm like, let's just see. And I'm so disappointed because it doesn't taste the same anymore.
Yeah. Isn't that true? In your little experiment here with this, JT, do you test your blood sugar at all?
I never have. And I honestly, I'm kind of interested, because I liked watching your videos where you're doing that. I really got my attention because I use stevia. I used to use Splenda. I switched to stevia about 2 years ago. And I always wondered about that. Stevia, Splenda made me feel bad, not bad, but just like I noticed I didn't feel good. And I thought, God, maybe there is something to this. So I switched and I could feel the difference. Yep. And I was hoping that wasn't just in my head.
No, it's not. Splenda, it is poison. And I also think sweet and low and equal and those things are poison as well.
So you're saying stevia is good. Stevia is good to use?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I am in the process of testing the month of November. I am testing everything I put in my body.
That's great.
By mouth.
I'd still be careful about that one.
We aren't gonna get all those videos, are we? Okay, I kid.
Some of those are saved. Shut up, y'all.
Shouldn't we always test everything we put in our mouth?
Nasty, naughty radio people. Shut up. I'm going legit. I'm no longer doing that anymore.
I don't care. You're the reason that this happened. You're OG. You're OG. This is your fault.
Oh, too funny. So presently, my schedule is that I'm testing everything for nutritional reasons that I put in my mouth, and see what the insulin response is at 30 minutes, at an hour, and at 2 hours. Right. Technically, the highest should be at an hour, and you should start to see it coming down at the 2-hour mark, right? So everything that I eat, a possible meal or whatever, I'm testing all of that stuff just because I want to know, because people throw out their opinions and want to have an argument about something they heard on the internet somewhere. And I don't want to have those arguments or defend my positions. Here's the position, watch the video. Here's what happened. And that's why I'm doing that. Yep.
You also came from a position of as far as diabetes too, you know,
right.
and coming back from that. So let me ask you this, as far as like your blood work, which I'm sure you've had done more often than you'd like to talk about, but I only have mine done once a year.
Right.
And so I'm kind of curious about getting it done more often. And I'm wondering if there are tests that you think should be done that generally aren't done by the doctor to give people an idea where they are.
Okay. I'm so well armed for that query, whatever that means, because I've been going through that. Because I want to test myself every couple of months. And the doctors won't do that because the insurance won't pay for that. And so they won't order that. Okay. Like I wanted to get a fresh set of lipid, you know, just to see where everything was, the cholesterol and all of that stuff. I was only able to get an A1C, which is your blood sugar, so that I could start this program, so that I could officially say, because I knew my diabetes was reversed, and I wanted to see it on a chart and a graph that I could show people. And in fact, I'm showing it right now. You can't even see it, but here's where you all go, wow, that's amazing, Rocket. Go ahead.
That's amazing,
That's
Rocket.
awesome.
That's amazing. Sorry.
Did we just pick her up? Wait.
Over anybody.
Sasha, I'm going to wake her up in the other studio, tap on her back.
That's too funny. Those guys are such great fun. Hey, we'll have the second part of that interview tomorrow with Pat and JT and the Greek goddess of the podcast, Sasha. Thank you for watching. And remember, don't be a fat rocket. Be a fast rocket. See you tomorrow.